Hey, gorgeous ones. Welcome to day 8 of my daily distraction series where I read to you from my first book, The Man I've Almost Dated, in the hope that I will help to distract you from the corona crazy that is going on in the world right now. So today we are starting from page 40. If you have the book, you can read along. And obviously, if you don't already have the book, people tell me it's a good read. So you can buy it for yourself or for a friend from all of the usual online bookstores in print and electronic format. Anyway, let's get started. Today's chapter is called, "But You Were My Model for a Good Relationship." Let's see what happened. For better or worse, a wedding and marriage is bigger than two people. A separation and divorce is no different. I found myself confronted with my own pain and everyone else's feelings as well. I relied on my friends a lot, and most were incredibly patient. They listened to my confusion, my grief, and observed my unpredictable behaviour as I swung from one extreme to the other, sometimes several times a day. It must have been exhausting for them. Most of them hung in there for me, but some were unhappy about the choices I was making. They thought things were great the way they were and didn't understand why I wanted to throw it all away. After all, while most of them had been single and navigating dating in their 20s, I'd been in a nice, secure relationship from the age of 18 with a man everyone loved. The reactions were diverse. The year before I left, Daniel and I bought a new car. 2 weeks later, I told Wanda I was thinking about leaving. "You don't go out and buy a brand new car with someone and then leave them, Lucretia," she said scornfully. She was thoroughly fed up with me by that point, and understandably, our friendship didn't survive the separation. When I did leave, my family was devastated. My parents lost a son and my sisters lost a brother. "But you were my model for a good relationship," wailed my sister Jasmine, as if I didn't have enough pressure. My parents kept inviting Daniel over for dinner for months after the breakup. He told me about the dinners and also told my parents they should be supporting me, not him. That's just what he was like. When I asked what was going on, Dad said angrily, "It's none of your business if we invite Daniel over and we don't have to tell you about it." Dad was upset with me for rocking the boat, and Mum also struggled with my choice. They would later tell friends what a catch Daniel was and how less than a year after our separation, he'd been snapped up by someone else. When I asked Mum about those comments years later, she said, "We just thought you'd regret your decision." My parents loved me, but if I was looking for their approval, I was going in the wrong direction. I tried to understand where they were coming from, but I didn't always feel very supported, and their priorities seemed a little out of kilter. Meanwhile, some female acquaintances acquired an air of smugness as they clung to their partners and hurried them out of my reach at social functions. Others who knew me as part of the Daniel-Lucretia partnership now felt a little awkward. They had known me as one part of a whole. Now I was just me. Much of our society and culture is based on finding a mate, and if you're not seeing someone, people want you to find someone. I was asked a lot of questions, and sometimes I didn't feel comfortable answering them. In hindsight, I wish I'd had responses stockpiled for those awkward moments. When yet another acquaintance or family member asked if I'd found a serious boyfriend yet, I could have said, "No, I prefer having sex with lots of different people," or "I've found several candidates, but I'm still deciding." If I was dating someone and was asked if it was getting serious, I could have said, "No, we're still just practicing. The sex needs a lot of work." Or, "No, I thought I'd wait until he's finished university before we commit." Or for the often asked question of, "Why can't you find someone to go out with?" I could have said, "I'm holding out for a young Robert Redford," or "I'm waiting until Justin Bieber becomes legal." If only I'd been quick-witted enough to say those things. Instead, I laughed off most of the questions or simply changed the subject. 2 years into my newly single life, at an annual family gathering, I declared I wasn't really looking to get married again. My dad's response was immediate. "That's a real worry," he said. "You should be taking active steps to get married again." His comment reflected the feelings of many others. I'd been safely packaged away in a relationship for a long time, and they didn't have to worry about me. Now I was single, a curiosity, or perhaps a problem to be solved. The same conversation included advice that it was just as well the latest man in my life had taken off because, being 26, 9 years my junior, he would have left me in the end anyway. Dad can be a little traditional in his views, and a daughter who decided to leave her very worthy husband to be single in her 30s made him uncomfortable. Nevertheless, I could have done without that kind of feedback. My sister Jasmine's comments that day were also pretty interesting. She told me I was weird because I didn't have an overwhelming desire to have children. Children weren't really on my radar at the time. I was still trying to work out how to be on my own and maybe find a new partner. "You're very different from most women," she said. I didn't feel like it was meant as a compliment. I guess you can always count on your family, to be honest. Why are you still single became a common and somewhat maddening question over the ensuing months and years. People were incredulous that some man hadn't snapped me up. While this was flattering, it was also awkward because I didn't have an answer. My fallback comment was simply, "There's a lack of available talent out there." Uncle Donald suggested I hook up with one of the judges I was working with at the law courts. "They'll have heaps of money," he said. "They're probably a little old for me." I wasn't very enthusiastic about his suggestion. Besides, I'm quite happy making my own money. My argument was dismissed out of hand. "They'll just pop off and leave you with their money then," he said. I think he was only half joking. He then moved on to other matchmaking schemes. "What about the other ones?" he said. "The ones who wear the gowns to work." "You mean the barristers?" "Yeah, them. They'd have plenty of money." "Nope, I haven't found any that interest me, and they're probably a little too conservative anyway," I replied, before rapidly excusing myself and heading towards the nearest bottle of alcohol. Other well-meaning relatives would ask if I was really sure I'd made the right decision to leave. You don't regret it, do you?" they asked anxiously. "Of course not," I'd respond. Then I'd amuse them with my latest dating disaster stories. It was a great way to divert attention. I was volunteering as an English tutor with a recently arrived refugee family from Sudan around the same time, and even they had questions. I found myself talking to one of their friends about marriage and choices. Boris was a Sudanese, well-educated and married man in his mid-40s with 5 children. "Why are so many Australians divorced and why don't their marriages last?" he asked. "In our country, people marry at 14 and remain together their entire lives." "Are they happy?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "Why in a country like Australia, where we have so many choices in education, do people make the wrong choices and marry the wrong people?" His question was deceptively simple and not meant to cause offence, but it made me feel profoundly uncomfortable. There I was, a tertiary educated divorced woman in her mid-30s who, in spite of all her knowledge, education and opportunities, had been unable to make her own marital relationship last. I couldn't answer him. That's where I'll leave it today. If you have any thoughts about why marriages are so short-lived in Australia or indeed anywhere, maybe drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your perspectives. And until next time, take care and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.